Welcome to this mini course on creating and sending your print mail newsletter using an online mail house. In this mini course, I'm going to show you the process that I use to send out my print newsletter, and the reasons that I use the tools that I use, and I'm going to show you the design process of designing your newsletter. I use Scribus for mine, which is an open source page editor, but you could also use Adobe InDesign. So I'll talk through my reasoning for these things as we go. The service that I use to send my print newsletter is called Stamp, which is STANNP, which is a UK-based mailing house where you can, through their API, you can submit contacts details when they request a print newsletter from you, or when they join your membership group if you have a membership group. However it is that you get their mailing address and their permission to mail them. So, you've got a few options. You can either upload the details manually, so you can upload a CSV file, an Excel file of their data. The reason that I use Stamp is because there is an integration to HighLevel, which is my CRM system, so that when people fill in certain forms on my website to join my print mail list, I can start sending them mailings. You can send postcards, you can send greeting cards, you can send letters. The type that I use for my print newsletter is technically a postcard, but it's a folded A3. It's not really a postcard at all, but it classifies as a postcard for some reason in the system. If you can see my camera, it ends up appearing like this. So it's a folded A3 thing that folds down to 4 pages of A4 with pages 2 and 3 in the middle, and then page 4 on the back. I quite like this as a length for a print newsletter. So my first version of this has ended up being 2,230 words, which is really like an extended blog post, really, or it's 2 blog posts back to back. So if you were writing 2 blog posts a month, you could put them both in your print newsletter and just kind of do a bit of editing to tie them together, or add a bit of extra commentary. So there's various ways of writing this without writing it from scratch. I actually take a hybrid approach on mine. I write content for my newsletter that doesn't appear anywhere else in my marketing, and then if I've got space that needs filling, I'll sometimes drop in some or all of one of my newsletters as well, because it's worth bearing in mind that people actually pay less attention to your work than you do, and if you're repeating your absolute best content in a different media, they're not going to immediately throw it in the bin. But I've taken a decision on mine that the main article in my newsletter is unique content that only appears in my print newsletter. What I've found recently, so I mail these pieces all over the world. Stamp is based in the UK. One of the reasons I use Stamp as well is because they do have a foreign presence. They have an office in the US. There is more of a mind towards international printing and delivery. I think at the moment they still print and ship from the UK. So if you are based in the US or Australia or somewhere else, then you might want to find a local provider. However, having said that, what I found printing and shipping my print newsletter is that it costs 99 pence to print and ship a newsletter to a UK address. It costs £1.25 to print and ship a newsletter anywhere else in the world. And those costs to me don't seem that dramatic. Obviously, it takes longer to deliver if it's going abroad. The other service I've used in the past is a service called DocMail, which is a similar service. The reason I stopped using DocMail is because I changed my CRM system when I moved to HighLevel. There is no longer an integration. So a big thing for me is having these things trigger automatically when people fill in forms on my website. So Stamp does have a very good API. You might find a developer that will integrate to certain tools. You can also just upload an Excel file, so you can create a CSV file, perhaps once a week of everyone who's requested your newsletter, and then maybe set a task for yourself every Friday to just upload the CSV file and press send. The main thing is having your designs ready to go. So if you come into the Stamp dashboard, first of all, if you're going to use Stamp, you'll want to create an account. You'll want to put some credit on your accounts. which obviously depletes as you send mailings. In designs, you want to make sure that your designs are in here. So you can see that my first print newsletter, Story Selling Insider 1.1, was here. So again, so the first side of A3 is your page 4 and page 1 with your address window there. Pages 2 and 3 are then on the inside. I've chosen to use a page editor to do this. So there are options to add text blocks and add images and effectively design it in the Stamp interface. What I found is that it's a bit clunky. Sometimes the final version doesn't look as it previews. You can't do the 2-column format. It just doesn't look as good. It looks a bit more amateurish. So I would recommend following the steps in this course to create your design outside of Stamp and then uploading the PDF. There's a few design options. One is so the paid tool is Adobe InDesign. I come to you as someone who, I used to be a skilled amateur at Adobe InDesign. So one of my previous employed jobs, I was required to go and learn how to use InDesign so that we could create our own business cards and letterheads and such things. I do like InDesign. It does have a cost. You can try it for free, but beyond the free trial and any Black Friday savings that they're offering, it's about £22 a month paid, but with an annual contract. So if you are going to do this, if you're going to use it a lot, if you're going to be creating letters, postcards, letterheads, business cards, if you're going to be creating a lot and using it all the time, I do recommend InDesign. It is the pro level tool. If you're more like me and you just use it once in a blue moon and you don't want to pay the monthly fee, then the tool that I use and the tool that I will be demoing in this course is called Scribus. Scribus is effectively an open source version of InDesign. It has most of the features. It's not quite slick. I'm sure if you were a professional, you would pick holes in this. But I think for my purposes of creating, a document like this, I found it to be perfectly serviceable. So you can download Scribus from the SourceForge website. It does also work on Linux if you're a Linux user. I have Linux on a couple of machines, so that's a plus point for me as well. So yeah, I'm going to leave this initial video here. So your tasks for this are to go ahead, if you're going to use Stamp, go and get started, create an account, add some credit to your accounts, get familiar with the platform, have a look around at what else it can do and what else you might want to do, whether you might want to send postcards and letters. Like if someone's giving you their mailing address and you've got their attention, like you should probably send them more mail than less mail. Most people don't send enough, so get familiar with the platform. DocMail is another alternative if for some reason you decide not to use this. If you are in the US or Australia or Europe or somewhere and you want to find a different tool, then let me know how you get on. But actually, even in a different tool, if it's still doing the folded A3 format, the design process is still the same. So the design process between Stamp and DocMail is basically the same because it's the same format. And then you'll want to choose either Adobe InDesign or Scribus. I will be demoing Scribus in this course, but the advice that I'll be giving you in Scribus will be fairly easy to translate. You might just have to go and do a Google search to find out the correct menu options and so forth. So I'll leave this here. Hopefully that's been a good overview.